What a difference a season makes, right? Allison Williams' character Marnie is certainly not enjoying the time of her life right now in the sophomore season of Girls. I mean, Marnie broke up with her boyfriend. She lost her job. She's working as a hostess. Again, nothing wrong with that. But she's at a real loss about what to do with her life. Thank goodness art doesn't imitate life all the time, because Allison Williams is a big success right now. Also happens to be the daughter of the most successful and most respected newsman on television, the great Brian Williams. It is so great to have you here, particularly as a guy who watched from that very first episode and was cheering you guys on from the start.
Thank you so much, then.
And I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Well, it's certainly really exciting. I kind of can't get over it. It feels like so long ago that we shot that first episode, and yet it was just like that. Just
reading your intro there, it really just shows the difference between real life and what your character is going through. Yeah. People may think that you might be like Marnie. You're not really at all like Marnie, are you?
I'm not. I think fundamentally some elements of how we are as human beings are pretty similar. I think we're both type A. I think we both like to sort of have it all together. We're very organizationally minded. But I think our approaches to friendship and our approaches to relationships and all of that stuff are a little bit different. I also think she's a little bit passionless, and she doesn't really know what she wants out of life and out of her career and love and all of that stuff. And I've always been passionate about acting forever and ever. So that's something that I had a little bit of trouble identifying with.
Yeah, she's finding herself.
Definitely. Well, I don't think she wants to think she's finding herself, though. I think she wants to think she's got it all figured out already.
That is true.
But it's definitely enjoyable to play someone who's finding herself.
Well, listen, that's one of the reasons that so many people, particularly young women in that age range, in their 20s, are relating to your show. The fact that you talk about sex and you deal with life and all of the angst that comes along with it in such a natural way. And I'm imagining you have young women coming up to you all the time saying, you guys nailed it, you got it exactly right.
Down to, I mean, every single detail, down to the fact that some of us are very modest about our bodies in those scenes, and then other women really respond to the fact that Lena is very, you know, open in that way.
I think
people really respond to every single aspect of the show. Every time a girl comes up to me, I'm braced. Okay, here we go. It's going to be one thing or another. Some of them have come up and said, I can't stand my boyfriend anymore. How do I break up with him? As if I'm suddenly going to have the answer.
Do you find yourself giving answers based on what you've learned through the show?
Well, Marnie did it while they were in the act, so to speak, and I definitely say I don't recommend that.
No, not that. No Post-it notes.
Yes, no Post-it notes, none of that. But it's really sweet because it's indicative of the naturalism and realism of the show. I think it's a very meaningful kind of feedback. They call me Marnie. They truly believe that Marnie is just walking around New York City and they're talking to her. It's such a compliment in a way.
It could be a little troublesome too at points.
Confusing,
people will confuse you, but we saw all of that angst playing out on Sunday night. I was sitting there right there watching the show, and we see Marnie getting into this huge blowout with her ex-boyfriend about the new girlfriend. She was there. It was a terribly uncomfortable moment, but let's watch it, shall we?
Let's do it, please. I don't know what the next year of my life is going to be like at all. I don't know what the next week of my life is going to be like. I don't even know what I want. Sometimes I just wish someone would tell me, like, this is how you should spend your days, and this is how the rest of your life should look.
Now, I chose not to show a sex scene at this particular time. And listen, I know people ask you all the time, God, well, what's it like watching one of those episodes with your father? So I'm not going to ask you what it's like to watch a sex scene with your father, but when you got a sense of how graphic the show was going to be and how exposed you were going to be, how did that conversation go when you, I don't care that your dad is Brian Williams newsman, any parent, how did the conversation go saying, here's what you're going to be seeing?
Well, I mean, the truth is I was living on their couch while I was shooting season 1. And so every day I would come home from work and I will have shot something where I'd come back from a table read and I'd sort of plop down at the dinner table and be like, all right, here's what we're doing. And I feel so lucky to have them as kind of my partners in crime. They've been there every step of the way. And as a result, they kind of get it. They know that I'm an actor. And I should have given them more credit, but I was nervous about it initially. And my first reaction was to just over-inform them, just over-inundate them with information. And so I'd say, okay, very technically, I would describe the scene as much as it was described in the script. Sometimes I would let them read it, and they would kind of react like, yeah, okay, fine, we don't need all of that information. And the reaction was always that it was not as bad as they feared it was going to be.
Well, good, you raised the bar so high.
Yeah, I definitely worried them beyond the fact that they need to be worried.
And I can't imagine how divergent what you have to say is when you have have the conversations, oh, what did you do today? That must be just a completely
very
different thing.
Yes, there's a really terrible situation, you know, in Turkey, but also I'm sure your day having fake sex was weird.
It's so great to meet you and have you here, and I wish you nothing but
me.
success with this show, and I think Lena has done an extraordinary thing, and by
She's
casting you, even a bigger
you.
thing. Be sure to watch Girls Sunday nights on HBO, of course.